Chapter 41. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. You. Which type of woman are you? Gu Yoli could not be bothered about his status at this point. She was choking with anger. She called him crazy since he accused her of being paranoid. Yu Feibai's lips were very thin. They curled up into a mocking smile. You look as if you do. What nonsense is that? I'll go to your house. Gu Yoli turned around sharply and walked towards Yu Feibai's parked car. Yu Feibai's gaze became inexplicably gentler. But he hid it and followed her to the car. Throughout the journey, there was complete silence in the car. Gu Yoli was actually hoping that Yu Feibai would not say anything. There was a saying that a person who doesn't like to speak would usually say words that are venomous enough to poison one to death when he speaks. Currently to Gu Yoli, Yu Feibai was such a person. So rather than talking to him, Gu Yoli would choose silence. Silence is golden. Occasionally her eyes swept a glance at Yu Feibai, who was completely focused on driving. Yu Feibai's side profile was shadowed as they dashed away in the car. She was unable to tell what expressions he had at the moment. The bright lights outside cast a speckled imprint on him through the leaves of a Chinese parasol tree. Yu Feibai's car finally stopped at the Four Seasons little estate. It was a high-class living estate not far away from Jingqing University and had gotten its name because it had different flowers blooming during the Four Seasons. Earlier, Gu Yoli had not paid much attention to the matter. However, the moment she stepped into Yu Feibai's house, Gu Yoli started to regret her impulsiveness a little. Although Yu Feibai was an army officer and that spoke volumes about his good character, this was the house of a single man, after all. What would happen to her if someone got to know about her coming here in the middle of the night? However, she had already come in, so it might sound a little unreasonable if she was to say that she wanted to leave now. Yu Feibai walked around the glass coffee table in the living room and undid the top two buttons of his shirt to reveal his sexy collarbone. He sat on the couch and called out to Gu Yoli, "Sit." To Gu Yoli, that sounded like a command. "Yes, sir." Due to the military training, Gu Yoli had become used to the commanding tone. So she did not mind it and sat opposite Yu Feibai with the large coffee table between them. After Yu Feibai unbuttoned his collar, he started to undo the buttons on his sleeves and rolled them up twice. Apart from his aloof appearance, he had an imposing attitude as well. He leaned lazily on the couch and spread his arms apart. He glanced at Gu Yoli casually, but his expression was like that of a sleeping leopard. "You know me from before the cafe meeting, right?" The sudden question made Gu Yoli's heart race. She could not help but get a shock. What do you mean? She did know him, but not really in that sense. After all, that was from her previous life, and then also, they only met once. Why would he say bring that up right now? Yu Feibai's gaze was as calm as silent water. However, upon close inspection, one would have realized that it was very cold. "We've met before the cafe." "I am sure about that." "Senior officer, no, I haven't met you before that." Gu Yoli would never admit it. After all, in this life, she really has not met Yu Feibai before that day. Yu Feibai looked at her with an unwavering gaze. "There are usually two types of women who try and get close to me. Materialistic, gold diggers, or female spies who betray their country. Which type of woman are you?" His harsh words were like a bomb that exploded in Gu Yoli's heart. Chapter 42. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Investigate. Gu Yoli looked at Yu Feibai in shock and her thin body trembled. She suddenly stood up from the couch and looked at Yu Feibai in anger. "What you mean to say is I am a gold digger with an ulterior motive to get close to you?" Yu Feibai looked at her silently. After a moment, he said calmly, "No, I think you're the latter." "What?" Gu Yoli was even more shocked now. She stared at him, dumbfounded. Yu Feibai was like a snow lotus on the edge of a cliff. Cold and aloof but exuding devilish beautiful. Those who attempted to pick this snow lotus would fall down the cliff and shatter into pieces. The height at which this snow lotus grew was equivalent to the depth of this man's thoughts. Euphaebi's lack of expression made it impossible for anyone to know what he was thinking. Guioli would never have expected that this man would suspect her to be a spy. These kinds of situations only appeared in movies and dramas. Oh, well. It seemed like they appeared in the news also and caused a commotion. But all that was far from her normal life. Guioli's little face was flushed red, as though there was a flame burning inside her. She looked resolutely at Euphaebi and said, "I am not a spy." Euphaebi's deep voice let out a calm, "Oh." He pulled the note really long, obviously in disbelief. Guioli could not help but curse at Euphaebi in her heart. She laughed sarcastically and mimicked him. "Oh, means that you believe me." Euphaebi gave her a cool look and said, "Oh, means that it's somewhere in between believing and not believing." The corners of Guioli's lips twitched. She had the urge to beat him up so badly that even his mom wouldn't even be able to recognize him. Euphaebi gazed at her and gave a small smile. "My identity makes it a must for me to take note of every woman around me." Applying the Ebbinghaus's theory of forgetting curve as devised by a German psychologist, and using that to analyze the situation of our meeting, I cannot eliminate the possibility that you created an opportunity to get close to me in order to retrieve some military secrets. From the moment Guioli met Euphaebi, this was the first time that she had heard him speak so much. But she was getting more and more furious by the second. She gripped the corner of her shirt tightly, not knowing how to explain herself. "I am not a spy. You can investigate it." Euphaebi stood up slowly. He walked to the side table and poured some water. Turning around, he said, "I've already got someone to investigate you while you were sleeping at the hospital." Her heart sank to the bottom of her chest and Guioli looked at him like a frightened little deer, without daring to even blink. So she was already being investigated. She pressed her lips together and said quickly, "Great, then you should know that I am Guioli." Euphaebi picked up 2 glasses of water and stared at her steadily. "You are Guioli. After comparing your old blood samples to the current ones, which we got from your body checkup, it has been found that you are the same person. But you're not Guioli from the other aspects of investigation. Guioli of the past is vastly different from you in terms of character. You are like 2 different persons. The most astonishing part is that the previous Guioli's grades had been average but you managed to score surprisingly well and enter a prestigious university. I wonder how you would explain that." Chapter 43. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chemistry, I'm not going to explain it. Guioli had an obstinate expression on her face. She said each word clearly. "In any case, I am Guioli, now, earlier and in the future. I am not a spy. What must I do to make you believe me?" Euphaebi walked towards Guioli and said softly, "Find the real spy." After saying that, he handed Guioli a cup of water and indicated with his eyes that she should take a seat. Guioli received the cup of water silently and sat on the couch. Euphaebi also returned to his seat. In the quiet and desolate room, there was only the sound of the clock ticking. Guioli drank her water and although Euphaebi did not speak, his presence was strongly felt. She glanced at Euphaebi secretly and bit her lip. Something felt amiss. Suddenly, she seemed to be enlightened and her uneasiness disappeared in an instant. She looked at Euphaebi and smiled very coldly, a very Guioli smile. "Senior official, I've read some books on psychology, too. As per the German psychologist, Ebbinghaus's forgetting curve should occur between 7 to 10 days. It has been more than a month since we last met so your joke isn't funny at all. You gave me a real fright." Euphaebi seemed to have been captivated by Guioli. His eyes glimmered. Do I look like I am joking?" Guioli squinted slightly and smiled at him again. "If you aren't joking and really suspected me to be a spy, why would you tell me all this?" You would have thrown me into an interrogation room. Yu Feibai looked at her in an even more profound way. Why do you make the army sound like a bunch of bandits? Gu Yoli beamed at him. There is a term called soldado, which means that soldiers and gangsters aren't that different. Now, it was Yu Feibai's turn to smile. It was a very slight quirk of his lips, but it was enough to mesmerize a person. Gu Yoli was stunned and felt her breathing become irregular. She could feel her face burning but quickly pretended to be calm as she said, I almost got tricked by you. Yu Feibai looked at her little face that was still blushing and could not help but smile again. Has anyone told you that it's not a very good thing for a woman to be too smart? Gu Yoli did not think much of it and said, a woman who isn't smart would be counting money for the person who has cheated her of her money. At the same time, she held an inner monologue, no laughing. Don't you know you look like a fox when you smile? Just stay as an immortal, why be a fox? After that, Gu Yoli picked up her glass of water, trying to conceal her thoughts. She heard Yu Feibai say calmly, if you're cheated by me, I won't let you count the money. I'll let you manage the money. Gu Yoli spat out the water. What was this man talking about? He sounded so calm as though he was discussing the weather, but the content sounded like a marriage proposal to her. A man letting a woman manage his money. If that's not a marriage proposal, what is it? Gu Yoli coughed violently from choking on the water and covered her mouth. She couldn't help but look at Yu Feibai with an incredulous expression on her face. Chapter 44. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You owe me a favor. After a while, she said, Sir, if you don't have anything else to say to me, can I go? Or do you want to go to the hospital with me to get a checkup? What she meant to say was that there was something wrong with him and he needed a check-up. Yu Feibai was not angry even though she was mocking him. He rested an arm casually on the couch. He had regained his earlier composure and said in a light voice, Chu Qing and Shao Qi are both residing in your dormitory room. Find a way to make them fight tomorrow during the military training. Gu Yoli was stunned as she stared wide-eyed at Yu Feibai. She could clearly capture the scheming and calculative look in his eyes. It seemed as though the Yu Feibai who had joked with her a minute ago, was a figment of her imagination. You're suspecting Chu Qing to be a spy? She asked in disbelief. Yu Feibai raised a brow and said, I cannot rule out that possibility, but whether she is or not would depend on whether you can make her fight with Shao Qi. Gu Yoli could feel that there was a deeper meaning behind his words. She did not agree to it nor did she reject it, immediately. Yu Feibai stared at her blatantly, which made Gu Yoli very nervous. She felt that this man was very good at understanding a person's psyche. By looking at her this way, she wouldn't be able to bring herself to say no to him. Should she agree to it? It seemed like she shouldn't get involved in this kind of thing. This should have happened in her previous life too. In that case, who did Yu Feibai assign this task to? Who was the one who pulled out the spy? Chu Qing? Or Shao Qi? Gu Yoli thought for a while before nodding in agreement. You owe me a favor. She had gotten swindled by him to help him. Even if she ended up helping him, he wouldn't thank her for it. Suddenly, she was reminded by Yu Feibai's words, if you're cheated by me, I won't let you count the money. I'll let you manage the money. What a horrifying thought. Gu Yoli shuddered. She got up and looked at Yu Feibai. It's late. The hospital is far away. Lend me some money to stay in a motel nearby. Just like what you said, it's too late and I can't let you go out alone. Saying so, Yu Feibai pointed at the room on the right. Over there. That's the guest room. Gu Yoli did not reject him. She gave him a polite smile and thanked him before heading over to the guest room. The door shut with a loud bang. Yu Feibai raised his brows but was not the least perturbed. His only thought was that the little girl had a temper. Gu Yoli took a quick shower in the guest room and crawled onto the bed to sleep. She was feeling weird staying in Yu Feibai's guest room. She was a little shocked, a little frustrated, and her heart seemed to be racing a little. No more thinking about it. Gu Yoli shook her head and told herself to go to sleep. She kept hypnotizing herself to fall asleep quickly. However, perhaps it was because she had slept too much in the hospital, or because of the fact that she was in a single man's house, she was unable to fall asleep no matter how hard she tried. Her eyes were open all the way until daybreak. As the sky started to brighten, Gu Yoli tiptoed out of the room. The living room was very quiet. She tiptoed to the vestibule and wore her shoes. As she closed the main door with a soft click, Euphaebi's bedroom door opened. Chapter 45. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Good at all kinds of martial arts. The overhead sun was blazing and despite the end of autumn, it was still very hot. After Gu Yoli returned to the school, she reported to the officer in charge and stood in the heat for their military training. Because of Euphaebi's mission, Gu Yoli had been observing Xiao Qi since she returned. Xiao Qi was an average-looking girl and her face had tanned deeply because of the sun. Her features were not outstanding and she didn't look much different from any other female student. If she was put in the crowd, no one would notice her. She had already fainted several times in just one training and looked even weaker than Gu Yoli. She recalled that the spies seemed pretty formidable in movies or dramas. Xiao Qi didn't really look like a spy despite what Euphaebi had said. However, she also knew that one cannot judge a book by its cover. During their break time, Chu Qing ran to the little shop near the field to buy 2 bottles of mineral water and came back to pass one of them to Gu Yoli. Thank you. Gu Yoli received the water with thanks. She twisted the bottle cap open and drowned almost half a bottle in one go. Chu Qing said a little worriedly, Yoli, don't drink so fast. You've just gotten a little better and your period isn't over yet. Gu Yoli exhaled comfortably. I'm alright, I've fully recovered. Yeah, right. I get periods as well. Even someone fit like me would feel a little discomfort during my period. As Chu Qing said that, she suddenly recalled the scene where Euphaebi had picked Gu Yoli and carried her away. She threw her a meaningful glance and said softly, yesterday when that handsome senior officer carried you to the hospital, did any other accident happen? For example, you accidentally kissed. Gu Yoli face-bombed herself and sighed. Ching, you're thinking way too much. Do you think this is an idle drama? Coming back to the point, you really are very fit. Have you practiced martial arts before? She changed the topic, tactfully. Gu Yoli believed in her heart that Chu Qing was not a spy. Chu Qing smiled to reveal her mesmerizing dimples. Yeah. I know martial arts. It's a tradition passed down in my family. I started training when I was young. Why don't I show you some moves, BDNV? As she said that, Chu Qing posed. Gu Yoli pulled her up to make her stand properly. It's alright, I believe you. But what kind of martial arts do you know? Chu Qing said proudly, swords, fists, staff, basically all the 18 weapons. I am a master of masters. She might know all of them, but the part about being a master of masters was obviously a boast. Gu Yoli found it hard to imagine and looked at Chu Qing in disbelief. Why would you learn all of them? As she said that, she shifted her weight to the other leg. She glanced and saw Xiao Qi standing nearby, leaning against a tree. Xiao Qi glanced at Chu Qing with a despising look and the corner of her lips curled up. It was obviously a mocking smile. Chu Qing's gaze was on Gu Yoli and she did not notice others. At this moment, she was smiling as she told Gu Yoli, my grandpa is a martial arts coach. My dad is his only son and I am the only child in my family. When I was young, my parents were busy with work so my grandpa brought me up. He practically trained me like I was a boy. Gu Yoli looked at her in shock. Wasn't that very tiring? You could actually handle all that. Chapter 46. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Deliberate provocation. Chu Qing sighed. Even if I couldn't handle it, I still had to train. My grandpa is really scary. He didn't just train me, he even trained Hua Miao Miao, who lived next door. Hua Miao Miao, that sissy, learned some basic kung fu from my grandpa, but his orchid fingers still stayed the same. As she said that, Chu Qing mimicked Hua Miao Miao's actions. Gu Yoli laughed in a gloating manner because she had just seen Hua Miao Miao running over towards them. However, the moment he heard Chu Qing's words, his face sank. Chu Qing had no idea that Hua Miao Miao was now standing directly behind her. When she saw Gu Yoli laugh, she thought that she was laughing at her imitation skills. Hence, she added, it's so disgusting. Say, he isn't even embarrassed as a grown man lifting orchid fingers shouting, "Are you courting death?" Hua Miao Miao could not go on listening to her. He raised an arm and slapped the back of Chu Qing's head hard, messing her hair up. Are you courting death, you tomboy? You're bad-mouthing me behind my back again. Chu Qing was stunned for a moment. Then, she rolled her eyes. Weren't you in military training? Why are you here? I have graced you with my presence, not to look for you, of course. Hua Miao Miao glared at Chu Qing and then quickly shifted his gaze to look at Gu Yoli in concern. He elbowed Chu Qing away and held Gu Yoli's hand affectionately as he asked her. Lily, I heard that you went to the hospital yesterday. I was so worried. Are you all right? Gu Yoli smiled. Miao Miao, I'm all right. There's nothing to worry about. Xiao Qi, who was standing on the side, seemed to find them too noisy and wanted to walk away. Just at that moment, Chu Qing was angry at Hua Miao Miao for snatching her place. She reached out to pull Hua Miao Miao hard and at the same time, she accidentally elbowed Gu Yoli. Exhausted because of the military training, Gu Yoli lost her balance and shuffled backward, bumping into Xiao Qi, who was just leaving. She originally wanted to grab onto a branch to break her fall. However, she suddenly recalled Yu Feibai's mission. She clenched her teeth and reached out for Xiao Qi, instead. Xiao Qi's reaction was very quick and she dodged Gu Yoli's arm. Gu Yoli did not manage to grab anything and fell to the ground. The first thing she felt as she went down, was that Yu Feibai's eyes were so sharp. This Xiao Qi wasn't an ordinary person. If Yu Feibai had not pointed it out to her, she would never have put so much thought into it. Ever since the start of the military training, there were cameras placed all over the field. The area they were presently at, was not a blind spot, so everything should have been recorded. Chu Qing might be capable, but what would happen if she was unable to defeat Xiao Qi? Now that she fell, it could be considered that Xiao Qi's identity was exposed and she would not need to think of a way to make Chu Qing and Xiao Qi fight. However, things did not progress as Gu Yoli expected. Hua Miao Miao rushed over with concern and helped Gu Yoli up while Chu Qing rushed angrily towards Xiao Qi and screamed loudly at her. Hey, Xiao Qi, how can you be like this? You saw that Yoli was about to fall. Instead of giving her a hand, you actually moved away. Xiao Qi and Chu Qing had never gotten along in the past. Now that Chu Qing had screamed at her like that, Xiao Qi's face became darker. She reached out to grab me so suddenly. If I didn't dodge, she would have pulled me to the ground with her. Chapter 47. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gave herself away. Hua Miao Miao stood up quickly and pointed his finger at Xiao Qi. You're so big while Lily is so small. She wouldn't have been able to pull you down with her. The military training was very tough and everyone was worked up because of the fatigue and heat. It was really very easy to start a fight with such short tempers around. Xiao Qi was burning with rage from Hua Miao Miao's words and clenched her fists tightly. You sissy. Who are you calling big? Who are you calling a sissy? Are you fit to call him a sissy? Chu Qing pointed at Xiao Qi and asked agitatedly. Chu Qing was extremely proprietorial about Hua Miao Miao. She could scold Hua Miao Miao millions of times, but she would never allow anyone else to bully him. If she heard someone calling him a sissy, she would immediately flare up. Xiao Qi looked at Chu Qing angrily. Aren't you the one who keeps using that word, tomboy? That was it. Hua Miao Miao exploded as well. He was the only one who could call Chu Qing a tomboy, but he would never allow anyone else to say it. He spat out venomous words directed at Xiao Qi. Who do you think you are to use the word tomboy? Why don't you take a good look at yourself? You have a face only a mother could love. How dare you call our Qingqing a tomboy, pig? You need to know that a pig has no right to scold anyone. At least a tomboy has looks, but a pig is a good. For nothing. Chu Qing probably already knew how good Hua Miao Miao was at scolding people, so she just stood at the side, snorting as she watched Xiao Qi's face changing expressions. Gu Yoli, however, was shocked, hearing it for the first time. Everyone had started gathering around and they were all laughing. Xiao Qi's face flushed from the insult. She stared at Hua Miao Miao with a gaze as sharp as an icy blade as she held her fists tightly. King Sissy, are you courting death? Chu Qing frowned and asked indifferently, why, are you going to beat him up? Hua Miao Miao tilted his head and taunted Xiao Qi. Hit me. Do it if you dare. Xiao Qi's face had gone from red to ashen. No one saw how she did the next move. She suddenly grabbed Hua Miao Miao's palm and suddenly everyone could hear Hua Miao Miao scream. Tomboy, save me. Stupid sissy. Have you returned everything that you learned from my grandpa, back to him? As Chu Qing spoke, she had already lifted her leg to kick Xiao Qi in her face. Ah! Exclamations burst out from everywhere. They thought that this would be the end of Xiao Qi. After all, Chu Qing had said that she was good at wielding all 18 weapons. However, no one expected Xiao Qi to suddenly let go of Hua Miao Miao and turn quickly to dodge Chu Qing's attack. Wow! Another wave of exclamation came from everywhere. Wasn't this Xiao Qi very weak? How did she become so good, suddenly? Chu Qing was also stunned. Immediately, she looked at her dangerously. I really couldn't tell earlier that you have also received training. Xiao Qi frowned with annoyance. It seemed that she had been too rash in her actions just now. She snorted and calmed herself down, preparing to leave. However, Chu Qing refused to let her go. She quickly grabbed Xiao Qi's shoulder with her grip like an eagle's talons. Want to leave? Not so easy. Xiao Qi clenched her hand into a fist and her gaze became cold again. She turned to avoid Chu Qing's hand. At the same time, she gave Chu Qing a spinning back kick. Gu Yoli exclaimed. Chu Qing, watch out. Chapter 48. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sparring and confrontation. Xiao Qi's actions were so fast that by the time Chu Qing could react, her leg was already in front of her eyes. Chu Qing quickly took a few steps back to avoid the attack and managed to dodge it narrowly. Gu Yoli heaved a sigh of relief. However, after she failed to attack her opponent, Xiao Qi started attacking with her fists. At that moment, Gu Yoli's heart was in her mouth. Hua Miao Miao, who was standing at the side, waved anxiously. Chu Qing, where's that force which you used to hit me? Retaliate, beat her up. Shut up, sissy. Chu Qing shouted as she used her left arm to block Xiao Qi's right fist. She had put all her attention on her right fist and was attacked from the other side, unexpectedly. Xiao Qi lifted her other hand to block her calmly, but Chu Qing's right fist went around her and quickly landed a punch on her chest. By the time Xiao Qi noticed it, it was too late and she received a hard blow. Staggering back, she took a moment to steady herself. Xiao Qi covered her left chest with her right hand and took a few deep breaths before she could withstand the pain. She was filled with rage and clenched her teeth as she dashed towards Chu Qing again. The two of them became entangled in a ruthless brawl. All the students in the field were dumbfounded. Gosh, was this a real fight? With no special effects. Why did it look like an exciting fight scene from a movie then? Their moves became faster and faster and Gu Yoli could no longer tell who had the upper hand. She quickly ran to Hua Miao Miao. Miao Miao, what should we do now? Would Chu Qing get injured? Why don't we think of a way to make them stop? Before Gu Yoli could finish her words, the officer.in.charge's whistle echoed in the field. The moment Chu Qing heard the whistle, she was momentarily distracted. Shao Qi took this opportunity to land a blow on Chu Qing's head. Chu Qing moved her head to the right, quickly, and the fist grazed past her head and hit her military cap, landing it onto the ground. Quick, back to the formation. All the students scurried away. Chu Qing's short hair was all messy right now. She glared at Shao Qi and wanted to attack her again. But Gu Yoli picked her cap up from the ground and ran over to pull Chu Qing's hand. Chu Qing, cut it out. The officer.in.charge is here. By this moment, everyone had already run towards the assembly ground. Shao Qi glared at Chu Qing and dusted her clothes as she went to catch up with everyone else. Hua Miao Miao was from a different company and he also walked towards his unit after Gu Yoli told him to do so. However, he still kept looking back worriedly at Gu Yoli and Chu Qing. The officer.in.charge stood straight in front of everyone. Firstly, he swept a disapproving glance at all of them. Then, he shouted loudly, sounding like thunder. Impressive. You even learned how to fight. Aren't you tired yet? Everyone had their hearts in their mouths but they held their breaths and stayed silent. The officer's face was black as charcoal at the moment. It's only 10 days left until the military parade. Do all of you plan to embarrass me? Answer me. Yes or no? It had been a while since the military training started, so the students, of course, knew how to answer. They all shouted at the top of their lungs, "No, sir." The officer.in.charge meted out punishments to Chu Qing and Shao Qi for getting into a fight. They had to run around the field starting from the time everyone went for dinner all the way until the start of the night training session. Gu Yoli felt a little guilty because she was the one who caused Chu Qing to be punished. She took 2 sets of dinner back to the dormitory room and was ready to go and look for Chu Qing when she saw the officer.in.charge taking Shao Qi away. Chapter 49. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A secret that cannot be disclosed. That night, Shao Qi did not return to the dorm. The next morning, the dormitory's female staff packed Shao Qi's belongings and told everyone that Shao Qi had withdrawn from the school. No one in the dormitory found anything weird about it. After all, there were many people who withdrew from school in this day and age. Only Gu Yoli knew that things were not as they seemed. Shao Qi probably turned out to be a spy, just as Yu Feibai had said. For someone with such a high rank to come to a school personally to just look at the freshmen, was unbelievable. He might have wanted to look for potential talent, but at the same time, he must have received news that there was a female spy undercover among the freshmen. After observing everyone for some time, he had found 2 suspects. Chu Qing and Shao Qi. He might have suspected Shao Qi more since she hid her true abilities. Therefore, Yu Feibai got her to find a way to make them fight. By this time, Yu Feibai might have already thrown Shao Qi into the interrogation room. No one knew if spies actually existed, but she was sure that if they did exist, it was a secret that could not be disclosed. The military training ended in a blink of an eye and the parade also came to an end. Gu Yoli's squad earned the Excellent Training Award, while her company was given the Excellent Company Award. Company Commander Chen smiled for the first time and started becoming friendly with the students. They sat on small benches and he started telling them stories about the army. Gu Yoli had not seen Yu Feibai since the day they parted. He was not present at the military parade as well. Gu Yoli was a little angry about that. She had agreed to help Yu Feibai and he owed her a favor. Although she knew that he wouldn't go back on his word about the favor, he should have at least thanked her for her help. That night, when they were dismissed, Company Commander Chen asked Chu Qing with a smile, Comrade Chu Qing, are you interested in joining the army? Ha! Chu Qing looked at Company Commander Chen with her eyes widening in shock. Company Commander Chen continued to smile. Every year, the army chooses some people from different schools. We usually pick someone who is excellent in both studies and virtues and is resilient. I think you're suitable. As he said that, he patted Chu Qing's shoulder and left. Chu Qing stood rooted to the ground, dumbfounded. After a while, she exclaimed loudly and hugged Gu Yoli tightly. Ah! The company commander said that I can join the army. Yeah. You can join the army and end up in the special corps. Gu Yoli smiled brightly. Chu Qing had mentioned countless times that she was not interested in learning fashion design. She had wanted to join the army and be part of the special corps. At first, it was because she thought that female soldiers in the special corps were very cool, but slowly she realized that it had become a dream for her. However, Chu Qing's mom was not in agreement and insisted that she attend the university. Now that she had gotten such a chance, Chu Qing wouldn't let it slip past her. Gu Yoli recalled that in her previous life, Hua Miaomiao had said that Chu Qing was in the army. She had gotten to know during that time that Chu Qing hadn't been an ordinary soldier. The Special Corps handled top-secret missions that outsiders would not be allowed to find out about. No matter how fate had changed, it seemed that Chu Qing would still end up in the Special Corps as she wished. The dormitory was resounding with songs and laughter that evening. Gu Yoli was enjoying the lively atmosphere. She chatted happily with the girls in the dormitory and forgot about her previous life for a few moments. She felt that she was simply an 18-year-old university student. It was not until another person moved in that it all came rushing back. Yang Mengshan had arrived. Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yang Mengshan, the appeal student. Each dormitory room accommodated 6 people. Other than Gu Yoli and Chu Qing, there were 3 other girls in their room, presently. They were Wen Ting, Huang Yunlan, and Zhang Xiaowen. Everyone had come from different backgrounds and were enrolled in different courses. It was purely fate for them to have come together. The 5 of them who initially were not really familiar with each other, quickly grew close because of being close in their age. They even started calling each other sisters. Of course, there were those amongst them who called each other husband and wife. Wen Ting, who had a heart-shaped face, long hair, and large eyes, would call Huang Yunlan her husband, while Huang Yunlan, who had a high ponytail and was slightly plump, would call Wen Ting her wife. Zhang Xiaowen had fair skin and large amorous eyes, but she was not very tall. She insisted on calling Chu Qing her wife. However, Chu Qing refused to be a wife. She wanted to be a husband, and she wanted Gu Yoli to be her wife. In the end, the 3 of them became sisters. The oldest was Chu Qing, Gu Yoli was second, while the youngest was Zhang Xiaowen. Gu Yoli found it incredible to be a part of such warmth, but was enjoying every bit of it. Everything had been going well, but Yang Mengshan's appearance destroyed the atmosphere. Xiaoqi's departure had left an empty space in their room, so Yang Mengshan, who entered as an appeal student, took Xiaoqi's bed. On the day Yang Mengshan moved in, she was wearing a pink dress. Her skin was fair and her hair was op-ed, making her look mesmerizing. She had a friendly smile on her face and greeted everyone politely. She sounded very sweet. Everyone in the room welcomed her warmly. Chu Qing went up to Yang Mengshan with a smile and started chatting with her. Gu Yoli remembered that in her previous life, although Yang Mengshan and Hua Miaomiao were in the same school, they had not known each other. Now that she saw Chu Qing and Yang Mengshan chatting happily, Gu Yoli would not deny that she was feeling rather uncomfortable. Chu Qing chatted casually with her and then went back to sit on Gu Yoli's bed. She asked her with a smile, "Will you go back home or go out to play during the National Day holiday?" Yang Mengshan's eyes lit up happily and she quickly ran to Gu Yoli. She said gently, "Sis, I was about to ask you that too." Are we going home together or going out to play during the National Day holiday? Huh, sis. Everyone was shocked. Chu Qing blinked and seemed to be in disbelief. Yoli, Meng Shan is your younger sister. Yoli's face was slightly cold as she gave a small smile, neither denying nor admitting to it. Just then, she reached out to open a bag of chips and said casually, I only know that I am very hungry now. Do you guys want some? Once the bag of chips was opened, the enticing smell started spreading. The gluttons in the room crowded around her bed when they saw food. Everyone started fighting. Give me some, give me some. Hey, don't fight. Zhang Xiaowen, are you a pig? You took so much and left so little for Yoli. Didn't you hear her say that she was hungry? As she said that, Chu Qing started snatching the chips back from Zhang Xiaowen. Zhang Xiaowen quickly explained herself. I only took 2. There are only a few in the pack. Here, Yoli. You can have 1. Zhang Xiaowen quickly passed one back to Gu Yoli. Bvec Gu Yoli received it with a smile. She had easily turned everyone's attention towards food so that they would not continue asking her about her relationship with Yang Mengshan. 18-year-old girls were normally very pure so they wouldn't think too much. Yang Mengshan was an anomaly. At this point in time, Yang Mengshan saw how Gu Yoli had become so chummy with everyone in the room and she scoffed coldly. Her heart was filled with poison at the sight of everyone being so friendly with each other.